people wanted to have a protest, a standout, to contradict the idea that a lot of people supported the police officer flying the Confederate flag. And many people feel the Confederate flag is a symbol of racism and a symbol of slavery, and that we shouldn't, we don't want to act like Greenfield supports that. And, not commenting on the police officer himself, we feel police have to be held to a higher standard. If they hold personal feelings of racism, then they can't serve the entire community. At the end of the Civil War, that Confederate flag continued to mean that. And I think if we look at the history of the Civil Rights Movement, you see the people who opposed the Civil Rights Movement in the 1950s and 60s flying the Confederate flag. It stood for racism. It stood for segregation. And it still does today. When you go to the websites of racists and segregationists, they have the Confederate flag flying. But it means death and murder to African Americans and other people of color. And I think we can't forget lynchings were done with people flying the Confederate flag after the Civil War. And so it's not just a benign symbol, it stands for violence, murder, and racism. Racism isn't just individual feelings. You have people being individually racist. We have to look at racism in housing, people being denied housing. We have to look at people being denied jobs. So when we talk about institutionalized racism in this country, we have to look at the lending practices of banks. I think, it is heartening to see in this area that the police and the mayor have reacted quickly on this. Compare that to Chicago, where, after the murder of that young black man, it was covered up for over a year. I think that's because we have an active community here that people won't let it stand. I think we do have to go further, though. I think to ensure these things don't happen, we really have to talk about that police who hold individual racist feelings just because they hide it and don't hang the Confederate flag can't be allowed to be policemen. We have to look at that. And I think we have to set standards for when police can use force.
Doing this, all of this, I think it's good because it shows that some people are still brave and they're still have the audacity to come out here to come and do this without any problems. And Greenfield's letting them do it with peace in mind. So I think it's good. I think it's perfect.
I think it needed to have a quick response, to be honest with you, and I don't think we're done yet either. We're certainly not done talking about it and not done working on it. And it's obviously an important subject topic, not here, everywhere. And I think it required a lot of reflection. And I think it was important for us to. It was important for me anyway to reach out to those folks, and especially that young man, and just let him know that, we are here for him. I'd hate to have him ever think that I wasn't going to be here for him. And obviously I'm going to work hard to continue what I've done for the last couple of years here and get out in the community with everybody and welcome them in and continue to do my cups and coffee and talking with people and just continue that type of work, because I think this is extremely unfortunate, but I do think it needs the attention that that it gets, and I understand it. It's not. I just wanted to stop out today and say hi to some folks and let them know that. Well, I'm here to say hello. Obviously, I'm a police officer, so I'm not gonna,
I think the people in Greenfield, all of the people in Greenfield, those who are our legislators, those who are our businessmen and town leaders and people in general, need to be open to having a conversation about racism. Ignoring it, hiding it, not talking about it, not being willing to deal with it, only creates that vacuum, allows it to be more insidious. We socialize our children to that. Children are not born being prejudiced. They learn that. So a conversation needs to be had, and it needs to be had by all. And sure, it's painful, it's ugly, nobody wants to look at it, but if you don't take the Band-Aid off, the wound never gets the air to heal.
The discussion came up during the election, and I'm glad that we started this conversation. I'm not glad of what's happening now, but I think the important first step is to have the conversation. But you make a good point. It's not something that's going to attract people or businesses to our town if this is the reputation we have. What I think that today is about, though, is not necessarily a protest or pointing fingers. I think it's important for us to raise awareness. People may do things without any harmful intention. But we do have a responsibility as a member of our community to take a step into the shoes of others and understand that maybe what we're doing, what we're saying can affect someone and really hurt them. So I'd like to look at today and the gathering today as more of that instead of, again, pointing fingers or making labels, but more just let's raise awareness and let's just try to be a little more concerned with each other.
What's that?